Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Spotlight series, Partner Spotlight on BellaVix. I've got my friend Will Haire with me. I'm Liz Downing from the Ecom Cooperative. Will, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here, Liz. Thanks for inviting me to the spotlight.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for being such an awesome partner of TECO. So Spotlight series, if this is your first time watching one, is a place where I talk to our valued partners. I learn about their history. I ask them kind of off the wall questions sometimes and try not to embarrass them and try not to blush. So, Will, I know that for myself, I had a moment in time in 2014 where I just had an aha moment and I understood that there was this other side of e-commerce, and that's the seller side of things, the brand owner side of things. When did you first get into e-commerce, and what was your first aha moment that this industry actually existed?
Yeah, I got into e-commerce probably like a lot of others doing retail arbitrage. So we'd find stuff on clearance and do like yard sales, and we'd flip them online. And it was always crazy to me how people, especially like fanatics around Disney and certain characters, would always sell really well. So it was fun kind of learning e-commerce and SEO through doing that for a bit. And then as somebody who's always worked in marketing agencies, I got exposure to larger brands and larger operations, and I was able to kind of see how they scale sales and how they acquire new customers. So the combination of the two gave me a really broad spectrum on e-commerce and what's it like to sell online. So it's been quite the journey, but it did start off with interest and just making some extra money on the side, and it turned into its own universe.
Yeah, it's really an eye-opening experience when you realize I know that for myself, I was, wait, people can sell on Amazon? And then I did meet people that were doing retail arbitrage, moving into wholesale, and that whole journey. That was a way different time with Amazon and the growth of the marketplace. So you got some experience as a seller. You realized that sellers really need a lot of help navigating the Amazon space. What prompted you to form your agency, and tell me about the name of your agency?
Yeah, very cool. So in 2018, just getting a lot of experience through advertising, I realized that I think there was better opportunity I could do as somebody in the service provider space. So decided to start BellaVix. And Bella is beautiful in Italian, and Vix is short for Victoria, which is my daughter. So we named our first business after my oldest daughter, and that's kind of where BellaVix came in.
I love that.
And we've been doing that since 2018.
So since 2018, I think the marketplace has changed a whole lot. Walmart became open to third-party sellers, and the whole game has changed. I know that you work with a lot of brands, helping them with all different sorts of advertising, full management, all that kind of stuff. What have been some of the greatest success stories that you've seen since 2018?
Yeah, so some of the brands that we're seeing succeed on the platform are brands that have like an omni-channel strategy. So while there is importance to the Amazon piece and growing that and treating that as its own vertical, brands that are able to do that in conjunction with having a really strong social media presence and working with influencers in their category are able to really succeed in this climate outside of what the economy is doing. So, and in our case, we've worked directly with brands, specifically in the supplement vertical, for example, where we were able to help them scale their Amazon presence from, around $1 million a year business to close to a $10 to $12 million business. And a lot of that is just implementing the right marketing tactics and really having the right product lineup, which really helped kind of these guys reach scale.
Okay, how about a fun one?
Sure.
What did you want to be when you were a kid? What did you want to be when you grew up? I like to ask this question because we all ended up in this industry, but some of us have really interesting what I want to be when I grow up stories. So what's yours?
Yeah. So I mean, I was kind of a sporty kid. So my what did I want to be when I grew up story is a professional basketball player. Grew up in the Jordan era, which happens to be, I think, some of the best basketball generationally. So, I vision myself playing ball, but obviously headed in a different direction. But basketball has always been something that I still watch and enjoy. Especially living in North Carolina, we got some great local teams. NC State made a pretty good run during March Madness. And Duke and UNC are always great local matches that are always entertaining.
That's awesome. You are tall too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm average, I guess. I'm about 6 foot tall, so a little on the higher side of average, I would say.
So thinking back to that aspiring basketball player, what was your favorite movie when you were 10 years old?
Favorite movie at 10 is probably one of the Ninja Turtle movies, whichever one was coming out around that time. Obviously, being a product of like the late 80s, early 90s, that was a lot of media in my life, from video games to the shows and all that fun stuff.
I'm remembering something. If I'm not mistaken, I think the first Ninja Turtle movie was filmed in North Carolina.
I think you're right. Yeah,
in the same space.
Scenes.
Yeah, in the same space that they filmed The Crow was in that same studio, and the Super Mario movie.
Well done with your trivia. Nice, Liz.
I remember when that happened. That's great. So
that is pretty crazy.
So tell me a little bit about, I mean, obviously you came into the industry, I don't want to say the proper way, but in the selling experience and watching the evolution of the types of sellers there were on Amazon, and watching the rules change in terms of like what you could sell as an independent third-party seller, and watching the evolution of brands and the evolution of brand registry on Amazon, and how it opened up a whole new world, and honestly, more restrictions on who could sell what brands on Amazon. None of that was really a big surprise to me because it had to evolve. But what have been some of like the biggest surprises you've experienced in the industry since, let's say, since you started? And then also, so give me both perspectives. Like, what were some big surprises when you were a seller, and then what were some big surprises once you switched over to helping sellers since that 2018 mark?
Yeah, I would say it's honestly, it's always changing. And I would say, like, right now what we're seeing is more sellers have concerns around profitability, where when the economy is generally pretty good, sellers are looking more like top line sales. So like get more demand generation, more demand generating activities. So a lot of these like mid and upper funnel advertising and marketing tactics are something that's deployed a lot more. And what we see now is kind of brands coming to us to say, how, especially with all the fee increases, how do we operate this efficiently? And so we're analyzing a lot of businesses to understand, where are you guys losing money? I know you talk, Liz, personally around a lot about staying profitable. There are lots of ways that you can improve profitability, and then using marketing and advertising dollars smartly. And we learned a lot of that by working with a lot of brands, specifically on Amazon. So we're really good at understanding how to navigate that despite whatever category challenges there are.
I love that you have such a deep understanding of advertising on Amazon. That's one thing that's always, even before we started working together, closely, that was always, you have such a practical approach, and you realize that it's not the same for every brand. It's not the same for every category, but you do need to like use some common sense when it comes. I really like your approach to your content about that too. And that's one of the reasons I like to share it so much, because I feel like you're like, look, people, it's not rocket science, but it's not easy either. You know, I mean, you gotta keep your head about you. You gotta think about certain things. And I just really like that about you.
Thanks, appreciate it. Obviously, having a good partner in the space is key for a lot of these businesses to succeed.
I love the idea of entrepreneurship on Amazon, and I love the stories behind the brands that we work with. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this question, but you don't have to divulge a brand name or anything like that, but what's one of the best, just sketch out one of the best origin stories for a brand from one of the brands that you work with?
Yeah, so we had this brand in the air purifier space, and they were a Kickstarter campaign from a bunch of kids from a really prestigious school, and they raised enough money in order to build their first prototype, fulfill a bunch of orders, and then start building a website and an Amazon store. And what was interesting about this specific brand is like they were pretty much all digital before they were able to scale. And what was, I guess, really fun on the journey was like the evolution of the product, as well as these students' evolutions as business professionals, where they start out as like their school project, and they were able to turn it into a relatively large business. So working alongside them and helping them implement the right strategies to raise capital, or to provide information to investors or their board. It was great to work alongside them. And then we also got in programs like the Amazon Launchpad, which was relatively new at the time, and it gave us additional exposure. We got to work directly with Amazon on some promotions and some key events, which helped drive the initial awareness and then grow that brand on Amazon, as well as their direct to consumers, so their website. So quite the journey, and that's like that's a fun rags to riches, because literally from ideation to to retail, it's how many businesses don't even make it that far because sourcing's so hard, or all these other things. And the product is pretty scientific, air purification, done really way, and then getting it manufactured. That's its own set of challenges outside of what we do, which is sell those units essentially.
Well, that's why we have a service provider network that we all are taking part in. That's so that we don't have to offer every solution. We can have niche specialties, which you obviously have. Last question. What is your favorite pizza topping?
Favorite meatball. I like to keep it nice and simple, like a good meatball or pepperoni. Those are probably my two go-to toppings.
I live in a pizza desert.
That's a hard life to live.
It's
Liz,
a hard
you gotta
life.
move.
Luckily, I get to go to New York pretty often, because that's our home base for the Ecom Cooperative. So I get my fix of bagels and pizza while I'm there, and then I have a carb detox after that.
Yeah, well, get it while you're there.
That's right. All right. Well, Will is available. Follow Will on LinkedIn. I think you should do that, and visit BellaVix.com. All of the information will be in the notes on YouTube. If you've got questions for Will, please submit them via my email, liz@theecomcooperative.com. I will make an intro. Will, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next time.